Aisha, it's great to be with you. Let's make some magic here for everybody.
How are you today?
Doing really well, having an exceptionally good day, and been looking forward to sharing with you and the audience all these great things that are happening today. You picked a really good time to be born because all of the stuff going on right now is amazing here in our world.
It is amazing. So, how did you develop your passion for technology? Let's start with you briefly.
Well, I guess when I was a kid, I liked playing with toys and gizmos, and the latest technology was out there. And then as I went through school, I realized, hey, we can use this to make our lives better. Because when you get down to it, technology really is just an extension of your brain, an extension to help you do more than you could by yourself alone. So by using the technology the right way, we're able to make our lives better, the lives better for those that we're serving as our customers, as our clients, and we can help them in many different ways. So I see technology as a way, when used properly, to really empower us to get a lot more done and make life a lot better.
Now, there are a lot of people out there, including some who are probably listening, that do not like change. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, they say, oh, well, you know, um, it it takes away from genuine human connection than the way we do business. It's really not good. What would you say to those people that are listening to have a more positive attitude towards AI?
Well, I think I can understand where they're coming from. There are times when people will use technology to distance themselves from others. For instance, we've all seen times when people are only staring at their phones and not talking to each other. They're not really connecting with people. But I don't think the problem is the technology. I mean, think about it. What is technology? A car is technology. If you're in the car with someone, does that mean it's bad and you shouldn't be using a car when going somewhere? You should be walking instead? Think so, not all the time. I think if we're using electricity, that's technology. If we're using plumbing, hey, that's a good thing, and that's technology as well. What we have to do is put it in perspective to put people first, and then let technology be there to serve people and help them. Focus on the personalities, focus on the people and how we can serve them better. And then I think we'll put technology in its right place. The place is not to say we're going to get rid of technology and never use it again, because that would make life worse. Our level of living today is far better off than it was, say, a century ago, 2 centuries ago, 1,000 years ago. Our ancestors had it much worse when they didn't have the technologies that we take for granted today. So I think it's like so many things in life, we have to deploy it in the right way, the right time, and that requires study. And it starts with the idea of let's care for others and let's help other people using technology to make their lives better.
Now, I love your emphasis on people first. I call it relational capital. And there is a quote of yours that I really like. It's not e-commerce, but our commerce. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, exactly. It's a concept I came up with a while back when we started hearing a lot about e-commerce, the electronic commerce, and I think it's great. I use it. Many people use it right now. It makes our life better when we have that. But it's really not the success in business is not really about the e-commerce. It's about the R commerce, as I call it. And the R is relationships. Building those relationships. You first of all establish them, then you build them, and then, Aisha, here's the real important part, maintaining those relationships, really being there and working with people, helping them out to solve their problems. Then the e-commerce will take care of itself. I love the fact that we can have this miracle. I call it a miracle, that I can go onto my keyboard, type in a few keys, and I get something wonderful delivered to my door sometimes that afternoon, or maybe in 2 days. Oh my goodness, hey, that's great. The folks at Amazon have figured out how to do that. When Jeff Bezos put it together, they realized, okay, people will always want the things they're going to get fast. They also want them as reasonably priced as possible, as low a price as possible. And they want to have good quality and be able to return it if something doesn't work out. So they just design a system so that they can use that. And they're really deploying our commerce, relationships, helping people to get what they need and do that better. And I think for those of us who are in service businesses, we want to find out what we can do to help others meet their needs. And that starts with, as my buddy Chris Brogan says, we need to grow bigger ears. So grow bigger ears, we listen more. Instead of talking so much, We need to listen to where they're coming from and where their needs really are. And then we deploy that technology and other tools that we have to serve them and make their lives a lot better. Doing that is how we get ahead in the world today.
Absolutely. So, what are some of the ways? Let's go into the practical AI applications now for the rest of the time. So, what are some of the AI things, AI tools that you would recommend that people can help nurture their relationships with and get leads and build those business relationships?
Oh my goodness, do we have another 13 hours for this? I mean, we can keep going and go on for that. Well, or I can talk really fast, or hey, there's
Well,
a lot
today's a
out
good
there.
start. We'll start today and then we'll
There
continue
we
with
I
other
like the way you think.
episodes.
I think we'll start today. We'll get this going here. We'll give some, but seriously, for those of you that are listening to this, there's a lot of AI and it can seem a little bit overwhelming. You feel like, oh my goodness, how am I going to handle all this? I can't keep up with it all. Well, the good news is you don't have to. You don't have to try to keep up with all of it. Just find sources where you can get the information you need that will say, here is a tool that can help you. And one of those tools right now really came about in a big way on November 30th, 2022, as we're recording this right now, last year. And so it was a change that OpenAI came up with a new version of their program called ChatGPT. And that is a tool that lets you type in just words in real language, like we would really talk, and just type it in there. And then it comes back and gives us information that can be pretty astounding, writing articles for us, writing headlines for us, doing lots of research. And recently, they've come up with what they call plugins. So it's kind of like you can get these extra apps, if you will, like on our phones. The best part about the iPhone, the best part about Android is the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store, because we get all these extras. With ChatGPT, they learned from that and they have plugins. So as we're recording this, there's over 800 wonderful plugins that you can get. Like for instance, one of the things we know you need to do with ChatGPT is write the prompt, that's the words that you're typing in, write that very carefully so that you get the best view, you get the best information. Well, who is better at crafting and molding a prompt than a bunch of AI machines pulling together, formulating the very best prompt for the one that you just entered there? And so you can get a plugin called Prompt Perfect. And what it does is it takes your prompt initially, and then it massages it a little bit, and about 10, 15 seconds later or so, it comes up with an even better prompt developed by the AI to give you even more spectacular results. And that is something I would recommend for everyone that's listening to this. Think about that. It's with ChatGPT, and it is a premium service. They have their ChatGPT Plus that costs a priestly sum of $20 a month. And so for $20 a month, you get access to all of these plugins, some of which will just be amazing when you can see what's available. But I think that it would be something I would look at seriously and debate within your own mind. Is this the right thing for you? For me, I look at it and I see all the tools that are available for getting access to what's happening in our world, to do number crunching, to draw graphs, to write charts, to create images, all of that through ChatGPT's plugins that are just nothing short of amazing.
Not even that. I mean, just for digital marketing efforts, when we do drip campaigns, just
Yes.
writing all of the letters. Sometimes I get creative blocks and I can't come up with the letters and I have to wait. And I'm sure as entrepreneurs, when it comes to writing, we all have the same problem. So that could be an immediate application right there. Just
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the way you say that we use that and let that kind of break the writer's block. That's really what it's about. Having been a journalist and trained in that, undergrad degree was in radio, TV, and newspaper, I can relate to that. Sometimes you sit down there, and actually you might be able to relate to this. You stare at that keyboard and your screen is blank and nothing appears. Right? You know what I mean? You're there going, what do I do? But see, with ChatGPT, you can find out headlines. Tell me what is most popular right now. For instance, I do a lot of work with AI. And how content entrepreneurs, content creators who are running a business are using this. So I often might ask, what is hot right now for content entrepreneurs using AI as a tool for marketing? Give me 10 paragraphs or less on what is happening now and put it in the language that a 10-year-old would understand. And that is the prompt that I literally would put in there. And then it comes back with 10 paragraphs or so of what is happening, which I could look at and I go, oh, look at this. Number 3 looks really good. Let me do some research on that and then write my own article. I could have ChatGPT write it, but it's better to write it yourself. ChatGPT can be sometimes a little, well, robotic, and it can be a little bit stale, and it can be wrong too. I think that's where we got to think about this. When we're writing content, make sure that you put your own voice, your own experiences into it, because ChatGPT has given us wrong answers. It does that because think about it. You know, if I had seen you and I talked 5 years ago and I said, hey, I've got something here. I got it off the internet, so it must be right. You would know, of course, I'm joking. We know that things on the internet can be wrong. Well, guess where ChatGPT is getting its information? The internet. So of course, some of the things can be wrong. And that means what we got to go do is what I learned in journalism school. You want to have 3 non-corroborating sources before you believe something is true. Go out and say, if you have one person that says, oh, such and such is true, for you as a journalist to go into it, I say, it is true because so-and-so said it, would be wrong. That wouldn't be a good way to do it, even if that person is right. You can say they said this, but you can't say it is right because they said it. But you find another person who says it, okay, that's nice. We call that a coincidence. You find another one that's doing it, okay, that strengthens it more. Now, could all 3 be wrong? Sure, of course. But it's important to do our due diligence. That means you want to have someone else that's kind of looking over the shoulder. One of the things I recommend is not only use ChatGPT, which is indispensable, we're using it now extensively, but also another tool that we like called Perplexity at perplexity.ai. It does similar research, it does similar searching, and it also gives you the sources for that so that you can say, it says, here's the 10 things that are happening, 10 events that are really strong right now. And oh, that one here on number 4 looks really interesting. That's from the Wall Street Journal. Well, let me click on that and read that article that the Wall Street Journal put in there, and then compare that with what I saw in Forbes magazine, and then over here in the Wall Street Journal and Harvard Business Review, and look at other sources so you can say, I'm getting the same thing from all of these sources. That must be reasonable. So now I'm going to put it into my own language with my voice using the stories that we can tell. For instance, you can think, I'm sure you go to a lot of conferences and seminars like so many of us do today.
Of course.
Remember that conference that you went to last March where the speaker, she was really good and had so many good things to say? Well, you can share that, and ChatGPT and Perplexity do not know what you gained from that experience when you heard that wonderful speaker back last March or whatever. And so that way you're able to make it yourself. You're able to use that as a starting point. Use that a way to get started, to get those 10 ideas or so, and then do the writing yourself, and use a tool like Grammarly, which also is a good AI tool, to make sure you're saying it correctly, that you're using proper grammar, that you're using the proper pronunciation, you're using proper punctuation, all of those things that are appropriate depending on where you're writing it. If you're writing it for a scholarly paper, that's one way of writing. If you're writing it as a fun, just between us kind of message that you're sending out, then that would be a different writing style. But all of that is enhanced with tools like ChatGPT, the plugins that are there, Perplexity, and so many others that are out there on the market today.
Well, 2 things I'm getting from this. 1, it's an incredible time saver. And 2, you can really hone in on your target market, from what I'm understanding. You mentioned talking to a 10-year-old or talking to just an average person as opposed to a professional. Like, with your messaging, it can help you target. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. That's the nice thing about it. I like to use that phrase and put it in the language that a 10-year-old would understand. So that means I can understand it because sometimes they might give us a detail of something. Let's say you're doing a search on a medical issue and you need to get some information. You want to find out about this. They could come back with some terms that, well, I don't know. When I went to business school, we did not study a lot of medicine. For some funny reason, they just missed all that medicine stuff. It was all about business at business school. But there are medical professionals who do know that. And so a way we can get a lot of good information for a start, this is not the end of the game, it's the start before you see your healthcare professional, would be to say, hey, I've got a pain in my knee and it feels like this, and what kind of treatments are available and what could cause that, et cetera, and give me the terms as a surgeon who operates on knees would understand, and also put it into the language that a 10-year-old would understand. So now I'm getting the proper medical term that I can then take this information, and when I go see my doctor or my healthcare professional, very important to do that, I say, here's the data that I've researched. What do you think, doctor? You went to medical school, you studied this. Here's what we're coming up with right now in recent studies that were done, recent research that was done. I'm helping the doctor then to make a better decision, looking at lots of different information out there. And when you think about it, this is opening up a world of possibilities. Because right now, I remember hearing Peter Diamandis talking about this. He's got his MD as a medical doctor from MIT and Harvard. And so he knows what he's talking about. But he says there are over 7,000 peer-reviewed medical publications every day of the year. There's no way that one doctor can stay up on all of that. It's impossible. But you can have that doctor ask ChatGPT a summation of what's going on for someone with this gender, this body type, this weight, this blood pressure, this medical history, all the unique factors that help you to be individual, and then say, what is the best treatment recommended for that? So now we're getting more information than ever, and it makes health better all the way around.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of real estate investors and real estate people listening to the show. You can do that with data for real estate. That can help with your market analysis.
Yes. Yeah, it's really amazing. We can look at it and say, what kind of homes are selling best in the southeast portion of our town? And what kind of homes that you thought would sell are not selling, and why? And what are the factors that went in there? And what about schools? And how do we know this school is better than that one? All those kind of questions, we're going, yeah, but what about this or what about that? Think of it this way. You could sit down as a real estate agent. You're a realtor. You say, okay, I have some sellers and I have a buyers here. We want to get them together. The buyers are going to be interested in certain factors. So we can then do searches on that, or what was the latest information on the school down the road here at the middle school, if that's of interest to the prospective buyers. They can get that information quicker and easier now, and much more relevant. And other things like, and what planned projects are going in for new stores or shopping malls or whatever things like that that are of interest to this person. And I think this way, the realtor is empowered with some of the smartest people anywhere, knowing that particular community, and they're all right there within ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other tools.
Absolutely. Now, do you see people making mistakes using ChatGPT and Perplexity and other tools?
Oh, yeah. I think the biggest mistake was one I kind of alluded to earlier, is they'll say, hey, here's what you can do. You can go out on YouTube, by the way, and see a lot of videos that are saying this. All you have to do is write in the right prompt, you can get it, and then you just copy that and paste it, and voila, there you go, you're done. No, 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 no. You need to make sure you put you into it. Your voice, your research, your data. Now get the research out there, but use that. And also realize, yes, there's going to be some errors on there. OpenAI, the people who give us ChatGPT, says right up front, sometimes this has errors. It can have information that is not correct. So you need to go out and check and do your own due diligence, do your own research to find what it's like. And I think that we want to use that and couple it with the human side as well. I was just looking at an article just about an hour before we got together here, that Harvard, the people are writing admission exams for Harvard, Princeton, Yale right now using ChatGPT. And when they say, write this up and submit it, and so the schools are thinking, what are we going to do about that? Well, I think the answer is exactly what we've had to do through the centuries with other technology. Roll you back in time. Years ago, remember the year was 1973 for me. And I was a young lad at school and working at a radio station, and this new contraption came out, had about this big, those of you that are, since we're on audio only, think about the size of a very large, very thick textbook. And it had a cord, and you always had to plug it in. They called it a calculator, and it could add and even subtract. It was pretty neat, you know. And the real good ones, the ones most advanced, they could multiply and divide. But you know what they did? They saw this was nice, but schools banned it. Said, no, you can't do that because you must do math the right way. Their right way is what they thought. That means
sounds
paper,
like my dad. He
Yeah,
said the
paper
same
and
thing.
pencil. Yep, with a big eraser and the whole thing. And I get it where they're coming from. They thought, oh, we're going to destroy the minds of the children if they're using these calculators rather than doing it the right way. We got to put that in air quotes, the right way. Well, of course, now we say that's silly. I mean, of course, they allow you to use calculators today. You're taking an exam, sure. I would say we have to revise our exams. And for the wonderful people at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and other schools that are concerned about this, maybe you need to know more than just the person can write an essay. Maybe you need to talk to them and find out how smart are they really? How articulate are they? How do they present themselves? How do they come across? This is important, whether you're male or female, whatever. We want to make sure that you can do that. And so I think they're going to have to change. We're all going to have to change because we've got a different world. AI has a lot of good, but I should, in a way, I like to say this in my seminars when I'm talking in the courses that I'm giving. It's very much like my old buddy Og, who came up with this concept of fire back in the cave long, long ago. Fire, hey, it's good. It'll keep you warm on those cold nights. Hey, also it can be used to cook food. Hey, this is really good. But it's got dangers too. It can burn everything down. Oh, and it can kill. Yes, it can. And technology is like that. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. We have both of those. Look at airplanes. We know that air travel now is the safest form of transportation. It's wonderful what the professionals have done with that. The pilots, the air traffic controllers, and all others who manufacture the planes, they've created something that is just, to me, a miracle, magnificent. But if people died in airplane crashes, well, yes, unfortunately, we know that. And that's why we have other wonderful people that are constantly studying. What can we do to make it even safer? What can we do to make sure that it's not going to have this chance here of something terrible happening? And I think we've got to look at AI and other technologies the same way. We understand there's good. There's also dangers that are going to be there. So we need to be careful of those dangers and the slander, sometimes the defamation that can come with it, sometimes the kind of information it'll give us that just is not true at all. So we have to keep doing our own research constantly.
Absolutely. So thank you. That brings it back to that second question that I asked you. So thank you for that.